Hi there and welcome to Eat Clean lesson number 6. Today what we're going to go over is a review of the basic building blocks that you need to create your meals. In the past lessons, they've been a little bit longer in length, and I've actually had you inside my kitchen seeing how I prepare meals. But today I'm going to take a step back and actually give you the tools so that you can create your own meals. Now let's pretend that if you're thinking about your day's meal intake, for most people, what I'm going to recommend for this type of eat clean lifestyle, what I find works best for people, is if they're programming in 3 main meals that aren't huge, but they're your main meals, a little bit larger, and then 2 to 3 snacks, depending on what your energy intake is. Some people have as many as 4 snacks if they're a very high-level athlete. So we're going to talk about the 3 main meals this week. And in next week and future weeks, we'll start to talk about snacks, and we'll start to talk about as well meal timing, and that's mainly your snacks, where we're going to talk about meal timing and how to make sure that that works best for you. But today, let's talk about making your meals. Usually when we talk about your meals, you're thinking about 3 main components of your meal. Okay, so here are the 3 main components that you want to consider when you are making meals. Most of the time, I like to tell people to consider the vegetables first because they're easy for people to forget. And what I like to do is to have people choose their veggies first and create their meals around that. Now, that may take a while for people to wrap their heads around. So sometimes another strategy is to think about, like I showed last weekend, taking your favorite existing recipes and making them a little bit better and adding vegetables in. So you have to kind of play around with what strategy works the best for you, and whether you think about creating your meal around starchy carbohydrates, around protein, or around vegetables. Now, one quick note here. For some people, if they're trying to lose weight, they want to minimize their starchy carbohydrates, especially in their evening meals. But we're going to assume today that for most people, they're going to be able to incorporate at least a little bit of starchy carbohydrate in their breakfast and lunch for sure, and then think about maybe a very small or tiny portion for your dinner. So just take a look at your vegetable list. Now on the Eat Clean lesson, I will make sure that I post links so that you can have these little cheat sheet handouts available to you. Basically, the concept of that vegetable, of this vegetable list here, is to have something to refer to. So if you get stuck in your routine, always having the same 3 vegetables, you can maybe refer to this list and maybe try 1 or 2 new vegetables every couple of weeks. Make sure you're mixing it up. The only other item that I want to show you on vegetables, if corn is your one of your main veggie choices, you really want to make sure that you're keeping your veggie portion or your portion size to that, to maybe a half cup, or consider it to be a starchy carbohydrate. Now, the starchy carbohydrate choices that you make, this is a really, really handy sheet that I've created because I talk about how important it is and the benefits of having non-processed starchy carbohydrates. So I'm just really quickly going to run through this list. Sweet potatoes, yam, brown rice, quinoa, black beans, oatmeal, lentils, garbanzo beans or chickpeas, any other beans or lentils, potatoes, oatmeal gone in here twice. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. These are all your best choices of your, what I would consider non-processed starchy carbs. Now, that's a lot of stretch for a lot of people because they're so used to having sandwiches or bread or pastas and whatnot. There still is a place for that in your meals, but always think of your ideal, what you're aiming to do, at least in those weekly lunches that I'm always emphasizing that you make sure you do. Try to choose non-processed starchy carbs as your carbohydrate base. Now, if you're really strapped for time, feel free to maybe select from this OK choice. So better starchy carbs. So this is your best choice. OK choice. These are somewhat processed, but they're better. Something called a zycle bread. That's the really, really thin bread. Nice and dense, high nutrient. Whole wheat wraps, do pay attention to portions. If you are really trying to cut down your calories, go with the small size wraps instead of the large ones. Whole wheat pasta, brown rice pasta, rice made at home process, but these are your better choices as opposed to your poor choice, which I'll get to in a second. Cereal made with cereal made with greater than 4 grams of fiber, less than 10 grams of sugar. That's big for sure on the sugar. Poor choice. So these are things that I really would encourage you to stay away from, or if you are having them, consider to be your treats. Store-bought muffins, most crackers, white bread, chips, and many cereals that don't fall into this greater than 4 grams of fiber, less than 10 grams of sugar category. Over to the protein. So proteins that you want to choose. You can either choose lean protein or non-lean protein. And I'll talk a little bit about the difference. All of my non-lean protein is still relatively lean. It's not, say, for example, you won't find ribs on my list here or a super fatty burger. All of these have a little bit of fat in them, but it's typically not terrible fat. So these are still good choices that I've listed here. If you don't see your favorite proteins on here, ribs, a super high fat burger, what that means is not that I never will allow you to have it, but you want to consider that to be a treat. So lean protein, chicken, turkey breast, pork tenderloin, a lean cut, 99% lean ground turkey, shrimp, cod, or tuna, egg whites, protein powder, low fat or non-fat cottage cheese, low fat or non-fat Greek yogurt. Non-lean protein, chicken or turkey, the dark meat, pork chop, 93% lean ground turkey, salmon or orange roughy, tofu, filet mignon, regular cottage cheese, or regular plain Greek yogurt or eggs. So why we've made the distinction between these two is that if you choose to make a meal and you choose lean protein, you may want to consider adding into that meal when you're making the little menu or recipe up, you may want to consider adding healthy fat. So that's if you choose a lean protein. So healthy fat would be nuts or nut butters, oils like olive oil, canola oil. Another one that I didn't add on here, but that's definitely good, is coconut oil. Avocado guacamole, salad dressing, if it's a good choice, limit the preservatives, mayonnaise, and depending on dressing, if you choose a non-fat dressing, obviously that's not a healthy fat. So a nice, healthy, non-preservative dressing made with some olive oil would be decent. Mayonnaise, flaxseed, egg yolks, butter or margarine, not as healthy as these choices above. On the little cheat sheets that I'll give you access to, the portion sizes in yellow are those portion sizes that you want to stick to if you're trying to lose weight. So yes, healthy fat can be good, but we want to minimize portion sizes if weight loss is a factor. So again, just a quick little review. All I wanted to go over this week was giving you the building blocks of how to make your healthy meals and recipes. So I want you to use those cheat sheets that I just referred to. I'll give you a link in the actual lesson that I provide for you this week. And I want you to start working on creating your own eat clean meals. So for your breakfast, this is the formula I want you to use. You're going to do starchy carbohydrate plus protein. Vegetables are in brackets because most of you are probably eating a North American style breakfast, which doesn't usually have a lot of vegetables, but if you're eating an egg scramble or you're doing a burrito or something, then vegetables could definitely become a part of that. And then an optional healthy fat. There is some room to manipulate this. You may want to add fruit. If you add a small serving of fruit and you're a person who burns a lot of energy, then don't worry about that. That can be your new formula. Starchy carb, protein, fruit, optional vegetables, optional healthy fat. Or if you choose, some people like to have a large serving of fruit instead of your starchy carb. So you can choose whichever method you want. So that might be some sort of a protein shake, might be a large serving of fruit, some protein powder or some Greek yogurt or something along those lines, and then potentially some nut butter for some healthy fat. So that would be a good breakfast. Do you always have to add healthy fat? No. Again, you have to experiment with what keeps you satisfied throughout the day and what allows you to achieve your goals. For dinner and lunch, You're going to mainly focus on your vegetables when you're creating those meals. So think about what's going to be my primary vegetable. Make sure you're having the large amount of vegetables, so it's at least a fist size, and ideally 2/3 of your actual meal serving. You're going to think about protein. So you can choose either your lean protein or your non-lean protein. If you choose a lean protein, make sure you're incorporating a healthy fat. It's in brackets because that is an option. And then as well, starchy carbohydrate. Starchy carbohydrate is in brackets because you do want to include it in your lunch. I'm recommending for sure. Dinner, depending on what your goals are, you may want to minimize or eliminate that starchy carbohydrate. So if you can't remember what each one of these components are, remember, go to your cheat sheet. So I shared with you on these cheat sheets, I shared with you your ideal protein choices. I shared with you what your healthy fats are. I shared with you a nice list of vegetables so you never get bored. And this is one of the most important ones: best choice, okay choice, and poor choice of your starchy carbohydrates. Good luck with that this week. I would love to hear what some of you come up with your meals. Don't be afraid too if the other method that I've talked about, how to create your meals, is to take an existing recipe that you're familiar with and comfortable with and then manipulate it a little bit by either upping the protein, upping the vegetables, decreasing the starchy carbs, and or changing those starchy carbs from a poor choice to a good choice. So please share with me how you took your favorite recipes and made them better, or you created brand new meals or recipes. Look forward to hearing from you and can't wait to see you again next week.